everyone. Welcome back to Shoeverse Podcast. Today's guest is Keith. Hi, Keith.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for being a guest today.
And thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
So, can you tell our listeners when did you first realize you wanted to be an author?
You know, I became an author quite by accident 30 years ago. I never intended to be, but I just started primarily writing to leave a legacy for my grandsons. But I just started jotting down a paragraph here, became a page, became a chapter, et cetera, et cetera. And what I was doing was kind of journaling my the sports that I played, hockey and football.
Oh.
And you can probably tell by the accent, I'm originally from Boston.
Yep.
Where we park our car in Harvard Yard. I'm an avid Boston sports fan. I started, writing about the sports I played, the games I went to, the Boston sports legends that I had the privilege of meeting, et cetera. And, I did a page here and a chapter there. And all of a sudden, we retired in 2013 to Lake Lanier in Georgia. And my wife said, very pointedly, you have the time. We are retired. I've been hearing about this book for 20 years. Finish the darn thing. Although she used the word much stronger than darn, but you get the gist.
Yeah.
And I wrapped it up, and it became a very popular book called Confessions of a Beantown Sports Junkie.
Oh, wow.
And I got a really nice review, a 5-star review, less than 24 hours after it was published. That kind of spurred me on to keep writing. And I wrote, I write a book about every 2 years or so because, involved with a lot of other activities, a lot of charity work.
Oh.
And also a lot of work keeping my cancer at bay.
Mm-hmm.
The sequel was called Fathers and Sons, Sports and Life.
Oh.
And it delves into my uncommon relationship with my late father, who was the best sports parent of all time. He went to every game I ever played, every practice. He sat in every frozen rink in North America watching me play hockey. And he was not one of these parents you read about in the sports page. It's, getting in trouble, cussing out the umpire or the referee, or, telling the coach Johnny's not playing enough. He never crossed that invisible line.
Nice.
And then in 2018, my life kind of took a real life turn, and I was diagnosed with prostate cancer.
Oh.
And so I wrote a book about my successful prostate surgery from prostate cancer, as well as I had 2 brain surgeries previously.
Wow.
I wrote about beating the life-threatening brain surgery twice. And then I wrote about my battle with morbid obesity and losing 155 pounds. So that book, the third book, was titled Overcoming the Odds. It was my story of triumphs over cancer, life-threatening brain surgery twice, and morbid obesity.
Wow.
And then a year after that, I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, which is a rare blood cancer. And there is no cure for that, but it is treatable. And I am fortunate to say that I'm in my second year of remission. Numbers are still good. I feel great. Back in the gym every morning. And on the road to remission is my 1.5-year battle with multiple myeloma, and successful to this point. It also includes addendums from my myeloma coaching director, Rosalind Height, and a very poignant one from my lovely wife, Susan, who is my sole caregiver because the rest of my family is 1,000 miles away. And her story has brought a lot of readers to tears. And the book was just a love of, getting it down on paper, telling the story. It was therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, also leaves a legacy for my two grandsons, Harry and Bo. It was a joy to write, and getting up in the morning and checking your email and finding an email that says you have written a great book, or one recently that said the last few chapters had me in tears. It's so rewarding. It's just a great feeling. And I'm working on it. I've just written a couple of short stories about my my bachelor days. Before I became the Keith Guernsey that I am now. Old married kind of guy, comfortable in his home with his lovely wife and 4-footed daughter. So I guess I'm kind of almost old and boring now.
I wouldn't say that. You're writing books.
Well, I got a couple more ideas for books that I'm going to write. I'm going to deviate. My first 4 books are all nonfiction, but I want to deviate to fiction. My wife is a fiction writer, and I want to challenge her. I don't want to be the second best writer in my own household. So.
That's funny. So in your book, Road to Remission, it's your autobiography, right? Like it's you.
Yeah. It's a memoir. Yes.
Oh. So do you explain like how your family and your wife dealt with it, and your grandkids and your kids, how they dealt with it?
Yes. My wife, as an addendum in the back called Giving Care, and as I say, it's very poignant. She's an incredible writer. She was a journalism major in college, and when people read it, they're in tears, because it was so well written. And she's been my rock this whole time. She, as I said, she's my sole caregiver. And she's been everything. She's been caregiver and best friend and wife and you name it.
It's hard to find someone like that.
I every day I thank my lucky stars. I look to the sky and thank God for another day on this wonderful planet. And I reach over and kiss my wife and tell her how much I love her. And then I hit the gym. Then I hit the gym before I have a chance to talk myself out of it.
Does your wife ever go with you to the gym?
Well, she walks a lot. She doesn't go to the gym, but we swim on weekends together. So
it is nice to find someone like that.
We do a lot of walking together, and at our age, she's going to be 70 this weekend, and I'm going to be 70 in about 5 weeks. And especially where I'm a cancer patient, I have to work out. I have to eat properly. I'll tell you a funny story. When we first met on a blind date, through a newspaper ad, no less, because back in the day, there wasn't Match or eHarmony or any of that stuff. So we met on a blind date, and somehow, and I don't know how this happened, but the subject came around to nutrition. And I'd been a bachelor for 17 years. And she said, "You do know what the 4 food groups are, don't you?" And I said, "Of course I do. Pizza, Chinese food, Bud Light, and Ben & Jerry's." And ever since then, I've cut out the Bud Light. I've cut out the Ben & Jerry's. I've substitute, occasionally dishes of vanilla, just plain vanilla ice cream. Chinese food and pizza I have on occasion, but a limited amount. And that's been, I've substituted a lot of fruits and vegetables. And that's enabled me to maintain my strength and my health and get the weight off and keep it off.
That's amazing. So when you went through chemo, I think it's chemo or recovery, did they tell you have to change your diet?
Well, they never really said, but I just knew I had to do it. I got a book from them on living well with cancer. And or eating well with cancer, I should say. And, I just modified things. Never really said it, but it was kind of implied that,
Yeah, they like
if you
it around.
want to live a long, healthy life, you will make some changes. And they haven't been drastic. They've been, I've always liked my fruits and my vegetables. But, it's made a huge difference. Huge difference.
That's cool. So, can you tell our listeners who or what inspired you to write? Like, was it your wife and your grandkids?
Yeah, well, it was everybody. My wife, son, daughter-in-law, my two grandkids, who will be able to read about me in future years. I mean, they're only 6 and 2, so. But my son's, he's been an inspiration. He's been calling, texting, or emailing pretty much. When I was in the hospital, almost daily, and my sister was too. She's in Boston as well.
Oh,
so, but it's been fun writing. Like I say, when you get those emails, that warms your heart, and it's just been a thrill for me. For your ego, it's nice seeing your name on Amazon 4 times.
Yeah, it is. You're like, that's me.
Yeah.
So, are you working on anything else? Any new books coming out or anything
Well,
this year?
yeah. Like I say, I've just written a couple of short stories for Kindle Vella, and I have 2 books I have ideas for. One is a fiction book. One is a short story that's nonfiction about my pets, if you can believe that. I wasn't a pet person at all. First 40 years of my life, and all of a sudden, I met Susan. She had a cat, and fell in love with him. And then we've had a couple of rescue dogs recently. They've been wonderful additions to the family. When we were in the house with COVID, Susan and I got sick of staring at each other and staring at our computers. So we got a little Jack. They're called Jack Cheese. It's a combination Jack Russell and Chihuahua.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's been phenomenal.
Oh, wow. She probably looks like my dog. I can show you my dog if she wasn't here, but now she's
if I knew how, I would show you Zoey.
It's a real little dog, like small.
12 pounds. She thinks she's a 150-pound Rottweiler.
Yep.
When anybody comes to the door with a friend or foe, she barks like crazy.
Yes, it's usually the little ones that's like.
Oh, she's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah, because me and my dog, I was taking her walking, and a Dalmatian came up. You know how big those things are. This one was real big, and she's like barking at him, and I'm like, stop, because I can't take that dog.
Yeah, Zoey is afraid of nobody. Nobody at all. And she, like I say, she thinks she's 150 pounds, but she's been a great addition to the family. And I'm writing a short story about her and her 2 predecessors, and how I went from somebody who couldn't be bothered with pets to loves them dearly now.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. They're really great companions, especially when you're going through recovery and stuff. They can tell. I don't know how they can.
She when I've been in the hospital, she's like, "Where's my dad?" She goes from room to room looking for me.
Yeah, roaming around.
Hopefully, knock on wood, I have had my last hospital stay.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah, really. I like I said, I feel great. I feel great, and I tell people, I'm 5 weeks away from my 70th birthday, and I feel better and healthier now than at any time since I stopped playing hockey when I was 28 years old.
Wow.
So hopefully, fingers crossed, it will stay that way.
Yeah, and happy early birthday.
Yeah, thank you. Looking forward to it. We're going to St. Simon's Island for a month.
Nice.
Celebrate our birthdays, yeah. Hang out at the beach, do some fishing and some swimming, and it'd be nice. we're really looking forward to it.
Nice. I want to thank you so much, Keith, for coming on my podcast today. And
it's my pleasure. My pleasure.
You have a great day.
And you as well. Thanks for inviting me on. Take care.
You're like a circle that floats around me, keeping me safe and sound. And when I fall, you've tied a rope to me.